Number 69 series. The false pastor of the Word of Life, sect Artur Simonyan, has dyslexia. In 2020, the pastor of the Word of Life, sect Artur Simonyan, publicly announced during an interview on his sect's channel that he has been suffering from a genetic brain disorder, dyslexia, since his school years.
Расскажу более, у меня есть дислексия.
Attention, Artur Simonyan even mispronounces the name of his disease. Instead of saying, I have dyslexia, he says, I have dyslexia. Dyslexia is an encephalopathy that manifests in 1. Impaired reading and verbal perception. A dyslexic sees the text they are reading as distorted. Letters in words get mixed up and jump around, sometimes disappearing or, conversely, spontaneously appearing. It looks like this. Look how a dyslexic sees words when reading.
Знаете, это болезнь, когда у тебя пропадают буквы перед глазами. Знаете, даже когда проповедь происходит, иногда я могу неправильно прочитать слово из Библии.
One, impaired reading and verbal perception. Let us look at the example of Artur Simonyan's verbal perception disorder. This deeply affects his thinking, making him incapable not only of reading and speaking correctly, but even of thinking properly. For example, in one of his videos, he claims that the main sexual organ of a human is their brain. Is this a blasphemy or nonsense?
Նախ եւ առաջ կբացատրեմ ինչ է նշանակում մարդու ուղեղը։ Մարդուն ամենամեծ սեռական օրգանը, որ գոյություն ունի մարդու, դա մարդու ուղեղն է։ Մարդուն ամենամեծ սեռական օրգանը, որ գոյություն ունի մարդու, դա մարդու ուղեղն է։
Dyslexia is an encephalopathy that manifests in 2. Disorientation of a dyslexic on a psychophysiological level. This may manifest as a loss of psychological and even physical balance. Example, Artur Simonyan has repeatedly fallen off the stage during his sermons.
Գիտեք, այսօր ես ուզում ձեզ գաղտնիք բացեմ։
Я сегодня хочу вам открыть одну тайну.
Ինչ է։
Այ լավ եղավ։
Լավը բռնում էին ինձ այնա։ Ընդհանրապես ձեր վաստիճանները փոքր է ռազմելուց։
Տղամարդու կոշիկի համար չի։
Տեսակ ոնց անկումը լինում մարդու։
Видите, как бывает падение человека?
Բեմից ուղիղ ներքև։
Со сцены прямо на землю.
It is clear that this man is sick, but why do those who consider themselves listeners or servants of the Word of God cannot realize that Artur perceives the Word of God in a distorted manner and transmits it to others just as distortedly? Why do you defend him? How can someone who constantly distorts the written word while reading serve in the Word of God and teach others the Bible? For the devil operates through the distortion and corruption of the Word. By listening to such a person and watching him, people consume the fruits of his distorted perception and become unknowingly subjected to the unseen influence of evil spirits emanating from him. Listen to Artur Simonyan's personal testimonies on this. You will see the manifestation of dyslexia's symptoms after so-called word stoppers in Artur Simonyan's mind.
He is everywhere.
Я не знаю, почему в моем случае так случается.
And so I don't know why in my case
Я
this is
понимаю, у
happening.
нормальных людей это в церкви, вовремя поста Бог говорит, а у меня вовремя отдыха. Конечно, да, есть, что может быть недопонимание. Я очень быстрый был, да? Хорошо, дорогие. И вот
He is everywhere.
я не знаю, почему в моем случае так случается.
And so I don't know why in my case
Я
this is
понимаю, у
happening.
нормальных людей это в церкви, вовремя поста Бог говорит, а у меня вовремя отдыха. Конечно, да, и есть, что может быть недопонимание.
As a result of which he could not structure his thoughts and speech, and craftily masking his defect, he claimed that he was simply speaking too fast. However, what came out was a jumble of incomprehensible words and syllables that were not connected to each other. This is how Artur Simonyan reads the Bible. How can he interpret the word? He can't even write. Watch the video. Attention, have you ever seen Artur Simonyan read any text from the Bible or write something by hand in front of you? Remember, he can do neither. When reading, letters jump and disappear, and he reads completely different words. And when writing by hand, he writes random words with major mistakes. Also, remember that Artur Simonyan studied only in primary school up to the 3rd grade, after which he was expelled due to his inability to continue learning. Dyslexia is a genetic encephalopathy of the human brain, in which, as a result of gene mutations that regulate cerebral processes in the cortex of the brain, there is a disruption and damage to the gray and white matter of the brain in its left middle temporal gyrus and the posterior part of the brain, which is responsible for 1. Analyzing and understanding written text and handwritten letters, 2. Producing coherent spoken language, 3. Automated reading of whole words, 4. Auditory perception and understanding of spoken language, 5. Forming and reproducing grammatically correct sentences and words through syllable fusion. All these pathological symptoms of dyslexia in patients manifest as a persistent repetition of the same errors. As a result, individuals with dyslexia are typically classified under the disability group, permanently. Permanent disability means that a person with disabilities is not required to undergo further medical examinations. The disease dyslexia is incurable due to the presence of gene mutations responsible for regulating cerebral processes in the brain's cortex, affecting its gray and white matter. As a result, 1. Blood and oxygen supply to brain tissues is disrupted. 2. Blood stagnation occurs. 3. Minor brain hemorrhages develop. 4. Swelling of the brain membranes forms. Due to this, the neuronal migration of nerve impulses in the cerebral cortex is disrupted, where areas of degeneration and death of irreparable nerve cells form, leading to sclerosis, i.e., the transformation of nerve cells into connective tissue, as a result of which the disease is not cured, but worsens with age. Therefore, dyslexia is a severe, incurable encephalopathy. As a result of the constant drainage of the brain, a diffuse sclerosis of the brain's nerve cells begins in the temporal region. Individuals with dyslexia have the structure of brain tissue which differs from the norm. Areas of reduced density appear in the posterior part of the left middle temporal gyrus. In Armenian, there are expressions of this status. Literally, the brain turns into water, or literally, the brain is spilled. The disease, dyslexia, is also dangerous because the likelihood of its hereditary transmission is between 40% and 70%. As a result of these physiological neuronal disruptions in the brain, the patient shows functional immaturity of important brain systems, expressed in the form of a mismatch between the higher mental functions of a person and the demands of their age. This immaturity of the brain systems is particularly evident in defects in the presentation of oral and written speech, incorrect perception of what is heard, read, or written, with disorientation in space. The main symptoms of dyslexia are 1. Slurred speech due to swallowing syllables and letters of words. 2. Memory impairments in the form of omissions. 3. Slowed reading, either by syllables or by letters. 4. Reading with mistakes, guessing words through letter substitutions or rearrangements, with letters flying in and out. 5. Reading a different phrase instead of the written phrase. 6. Difficulty understanding the meaning of the read text to varying degrees. 7. Difficulty retelling a recently read text. 8. Difficulty in writing words, even simple ones. 9. Numerous grammatical errors even when copying text. 10. Pronounced handwriting problems. 11. Inability to complete tasks within the set time. 12. Increased sensitivity of the nervous system. 13. Excessive emotionality, silliness, and garrulity. 14. Disruption in coordination of movements and orientation. 15. Disorder of the body schema, i.e., disproportion of certain body parts and facial features, such as closely set eyes. 16. Difficulty in movements when determining the right and left sides. 17. Disorders of interhemispheric interaction. 18. Heightened aesthetic taste. 19. Inadequate behavior in various situations, e.g., Artur Simonyan is rolling up sleeves and cleaning a public restroom in a building associated with their sect, and being proud of it. 20. Extremely strong sense of justice. 21. School maladaptation. 22. Intellectual disability, extremely weak abilities. 23. Visual and hearing defects manifesting as figurative impairments. 24. Pronounced problems with acquiring various skills. 1. Reading and speech. 2. Writing and literacy. 3. Mastering arithmetic. 25. Lack of concentration skills during lectures, lessons, conversations, etc. 26. Distraction and daydreaming. 27. Problems with identification. Who am I? What kind of person am I? 28. Impulsiveness and hastiness in making inadequate decisions and actions. 29. Tendency to quickly lose interest during conversations or presentations. A person with dyslexia is called a dyslexic. A dyslexic can easily be recognized among others because the symptoms of dyslexia are prominently displayed in their behavior and manner of reacting to what seem like ordinary situations in daily life. Attention, the danger of dyslexia lies in the fact that, as a result of the impaired reproduction of written and spoken speech in the patient, the people around them may have an incorrect reaction to listening to this type of distorted speech. People stop noticing the extreme illiteracy and incoherence of the patient's speech, treating their meaningless expressions with extreme frivolity and ridicule. Their chaotic phrases even evoke admiration, surprise, and foolish laughter. Attention, let's listen again to what Artur Simonyan himself says about himself as a dyslexic in his slowed speech.
У меня есть дислекция, у меня есть дислекция, у меня есть дислекция. Тогда не было, а сейчас у меня есть эта болезнь. Знаете, это болезнь, когда у тебя пропадают буквы перед глазами. Знаете, даже когда проповедь происходит, иногда я могу неправильно прочитать слово из Библии. Когда проповедь происходит, иногда я могу неправильно прочитать слово из Библии. Но мне помогает то, что я заучиваю наизусть места Писания. Как, например, меня мог учитель подозвать к доске, и, понимаете, из-за дислекции я мог неправильно прочесть слова, написанные на доске. Например, там могло быть написано «черный медведь». Слово «черный» у меня могло перед глазами расплыться, я мог читать другое слово. Например, там могло быть написано «черный медведь». Слово «черный» у меня могло перед глазами расплыться, я мог читать другое слово. И это, понимаете, дислекция – это такая болезнь. Или наоборот, например, когда я писал сочинение, мне ставили двойку, потому что мне казалось, что я написал эти буквы, на самом деле я их пропускал. Ты иногда видишь буквы, иногда не видишь, поэтому мне всегда сложно было писать все эти вещи. Я всегда думал, что писать это не мое. Я всегда думал, что писать это не мое. Я буду очень далек от этого, чтобы писать, читать. Я буду очень далек от этого, чтобы писать, читать.
At a conference on 29 January 2023, during the opening of his new church in Florida, Artur Simonyan said, "God showed me the alphabet." And as he says, he was told by this unknown God, if you put the letters in the right order, you get the army of God. But if you arrange them incorrectly, you get the army of the devil.
Бог мне показал буквы.
You know, once the Lord showed me letters.
Алфавит.
It was an alphabet.
И Бог показал, говорит, каждая буква это солдатик.
And so the Lord showed me that every letter is like a soldier.
Если ты правильно их поставишь, это будет армия Божия.
And so if you put them the right way, it's going to be an army of God.
А если неправильно их поставишь,
But if you don't put it the right way,
это может стать армия дьявола.
It's going to become an army of the devil.
Here he is actually talking about his problem because, in reality, as a dyslexic, he sees the alphabet like this. Doesn't this resemble the army of the devil?